Hello there, Mandy here. Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart is not just a podcast. It's also a book, a free online grief group, and a one-on-one private coaching practice. If you are interested in learning more, visit mandykapehart.com to find out how restorative grief can help you heal heart, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 216, titled Consistency Over Intensity: Why Slow Grief Work Matters More Than Big Breakthroughs. There's no doubt grief is intense, but does that mean our response must match the intensity? This week, I wanted to invite us into a gentler way of approaching our grief work, one that eliminates the shame or the guilt of doing less and allows us to expand into small and steady expressions of healing and integration. We live in a world of spectrums: color, light, energy, and emotion. Like pendulums, some swing wildly with pressure, while others shift quietly and hold steady. As human beings, our ability to act and function is just as fluid. Despite what may feel like stuckness, we have an incredible tendency to wiggle our way into the work that loosens our bonds. It's just that sometimes that's really hard to notice. Sometimes our wiggling feels more like struggling. Sometimes it feels fruitless and empty. And so in response to that sensation of stagnation, we swing hard for the fences, believing a home run is the only measure of success when we feel this far behind. Beloved griever and friend, hear me when I say this. All progress is progress. Slow progress is better than no progress. And what feels like backward progress or loss is more expansion than you can possibly realize. Here's another example, and I realize I'm mixing my metaphors here, pendulums and swinging for the fences in baseball and now soccer, but stay with me, because growth and movement happen in each of them for the same reason: pressure and intention applied over time. This fall, the soccer team I coach earned a bronze medal in a very rainy tournament, which was a big win for a season riddled with injuries. Going into our final game, we already knew we would finish third, even as we faced the undefeated first place team. So I told my players to take risks and to have fun. We lost, as expected, 5-1, but in the last 10 seconds, my players scored the only goal anyone had earned against that team all weekend. The uproar from our sidelines was wild. Parents, us as coaches, everyone cheering as if we'd just won the whole thing. And the other team walked off subdued, while other spectators looked confused by our celebration, knowing we'd lost. But as we accepted our bronze medals, it was clear we'd gained far more than a win. We'd learned to find joy in the middle of a loss. When I was a player, coaching was purely about the win. In my tenure as a soccer coach, I've witnessed countless coaches shouting down their players, who are children, remember, for bad touches, missed goals, and low effort on the field. These type of coaches tend to see the sport of soccer and life as a black and white scenario, where only the match winners are successful and losers are never good enough. Our grief work is easy to shove into this same framework. Only the most hopeful people are successful with grieving, and the grievers who remain are never healing enough. Have you placed that kind of pressure on yourself? Because I sure have. In different ways, the intensity of my loss and desire to feel differently has pushed the proverbial finish line further than the horizon. The fact that a finish line is even part of the conversation is pressure itself, because who said grief comes to an end? The spectrum of our healing experience is not about finding a place in the process and saying, okay, healthy enough, now I can live again. It is about learning to live joyfully and intentionally throughout the process of healing. If healing is an ongoing process that we are all experiencing, at what point can we name ourselves ready to live again? Now, stay here with me for a moment. In my own grief work, there have been months and years where I felt as though life was on hold. I could not find the energy or the courage to be joyful. I did not know that both were possible. And when I was in the middle of a joyful moment, I consciously and subconsciously hesitated, lest I disregard the grief I also felt. And that's when I realized something so important about my own grief work. I was so afraid of bypassing my pain that I began bypassing my joy. See, joy is a small, feisty, ever-present, and patient guide, but I viewed joy as the end goal, healing as a permanent state of being healed. My assumptions led to intense attempts to reconcile the pain. Lots of answering the why and retreats and books and lessons, constant retreating from daily life, not to wallow, but certainly to resist playfulness or lightheartedness, because it often felt like a betrayal of the work. And that's what I want to invite you to learn. What feels like a betrayal may just be an invitation to honor the slow and steady. Consistency in our grief work is not sexy. It's not showing up on the internet, claiming to be healthy and healed, covered in filters, and sharing just a snapshot of the life we lead. No, consistency is messy. It's bold. It's uncomfortable. It is often measurable, but feels like failure. So let me offer a few snapshots of the consistency in my life lately to give you an idea of what you might aim for. If you were to look me in the eye and claim I'm failing at tending my grief, then perhaps you are also a little more centered on the intensity scale than allowing yourself to be on a spectrum of healing and living. So instead of ruminating on a frustration moment, I offered myself 4 minutes to box breathe recently. Instead of holding back my tears of hurt, I was honest in a conversation the other day. Instead of pretending I was okay, I took the days off and turned off my phone. Instead of rushing into the next thing, I slowed my body down and chose to breathe for 30 to 90 seconds before moving again. And instead of trying to do it alone, I confessed my pain and fears to a friend. Instead of assuming their intent, I asked what they meant and clarified my boundaries. These are all vague but real moments where I can choose consistency and move with small intentions, or I can lean into the intensity that I sense all the time. I could have easily yelled at the person who hurt me. I could have pushed through my illness and kept working myself to the bone. I certainly could have hidden my pain and pretended to be fine. But our healing isn't about learning enough, doing enough, saying the right things, or resting enough. Healing work is about learning to integrate the things we've learned and experienced into our new experience at a very slow and steady pace. We are reshaping our inner landscapes one neural pathway at a time in a way that is sustainable for long-term growth. The brain goes slowly. That's not a you thing. That's a human thing. Pretending we need the intensity as our only mode of change means the only change we will validate are the monumental ones, the very changes that likely pointed us toward grief in the first place. And that makes sense, right? If it hurts really big, it must need a really big response. But big things don't start big. Healing isn't huge at first. It's molecular, tiny, slow, small, and consistent. Thank you for listening to episode 216 of Restorative Grief. I wrote this essay on a foggy fall morning. The leaves are orange and brown and falling, and the gray sky makes my view a little less perfect than normal. But the consistency of sitting at my desk and listening to my heart, my gut, my brain, and my spirit work together for the words I need is a gift to my own intense little self. A reminder that we must slow down, express the things we carry, and let them transform into whatever they will become on their own. We cannot force healing. We can only foster it. So whether your healing feels monumental or molecular, remember, what matters most is showing up with gentle consistency. The work works, even when it feels small. If this is your first time listening to Restorative Grief, I am so grateful you found your way here. This little project of love and consistency over the last 5 years has led to incredible growth and healing for thousands of people, and I am honored to count you among the insightful and growing group of healers. Please be sure to leave a review and subscribe to the podcast so you'll get each weekly episode on time. Thank you to the patrons of the show who support the Restorative Grief community by keeping these episodes going. Check out the show notes if you are interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the work for as little as $2 a month. And as always, before we go, one last thing. Please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.